When the coronavirus outbreak really began in the US in mid-March, the country was put on a sort of lockdown or quarantine. During this time, there were many questions as to how life could be normal like this and what there even was to do. There was only so much Netflix that one could watch in one day, so how could people remain proactive throughout this time? This answer may seem hard to find. There are certain people who figured out just how to make some good out of the coronavirus quarantine. An example of this proactiveness can be seen in my mother, Chris Grisella.
So, when the coronavirus hit and our office shut down, I wasn't really sure how long we would be shut down for. It happened on March 12th. So with that extra time, I actually cleaned out some closets, watched a lot of Netflix, really enjoyed my downtime. But when it became obvious that we would not be going back into the office for the foreseeable future, I decided to get a little healthier. So with the added time that I had that would have been spent commuting to my office, I started to run at the track, and also because I wasn't commuting home in the evenings, I was able to make healthier dinners. I was able to shop a little bit easier. I had so much more time on my hands. So that being said, I was able to shed a few pounds, lose a few inches, and cook healthier for not only for myself but for my family as well. So the COVID-19 pandemic has actually helped me become a little bit healthier and implement better ways.
Now, while this is fantastic that my mom was able to make this improvement in her life, this actually breaks away from the norm of the country during quarantine. A study was done during a high school's online learning period during the quarantine that there was only a mere 27% of students that actually felt that they were more productive during this time. Well, this may seem weird that with all this free time, there were so many people slacking off, but when taking a closer look, it really makes a lot of sense. Quarantine came at a time where the weather was still cold, school was still going strong, and many kids could really use a break from it all. So, when the online schooling began, it almost felt like school was done altogether, making them feel like they were just free to lay around and do nothing. While this may have been the case for many students during this time, this was not the case for Archbishop Wood Sr. Brian Woodring. With Brian being in the class of 2020, there was a lot of uncertainty in his life. And adding to that, he was just coming off a disappointing cross-country season and only had a handful of offers of colleges for him to run at the following year. So before quarantine started, Brian was strongly considering retiring from running altogether. This all changed though once Brian had all this free time on his hands in quarantine. He was able to get back into the swing of running and began doing serious workouts every day. These workouts began to pay off, with his times improving greatly and helping him to be in the best shape that he has ever been in before. He's now moving on to run at Jefferson College in Philadelphia and told me when I was talking to him that if it wasn't for the quarantine, there's no way that I'll be running in college. This all goes to show that even in the time of an international pandemic, there is always something good to take out of it, or a light at the end of the tunnel. No matter how big or small, there is always a positive to it, and everything will get better with time, which is something that I hope everyone takes away from this.